Okay. Okay, hello everyone. I guess you can see me. Oh, I already see a lot of comments. Hey. So welcome to my channel, guys, who are watching this on YouTube, and welcome to Linguatrip, to those who are watching this webinar on Linguatrip's website. This is going to be all English webinar because we have a special guest today. Jonathan, would you please? Hey. I just wanted you to just say hi. Yeah.
Okay, microphone. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
So thanks for inviting me, Marina. It's a pleasure to touch base and do these webinars with you and for your audience. It's a pleasure to work with everyone.
Thank you very much. For those who do not know Jonathan, Jonathan is our teacher who helps people learn English with a native speaker because he's a native speaker. He's from California, United States, and he also helps the students pass TOEFL, which is an exam that everybody needs to get into American, Canadian, university. Amazing scores. Like I scored 117, and I thought, wow, that's great. But his student has actually scored 118 recently, and many people actually overdo what they expected to have during the exam. So I think he's a great teacher, and he knows what I think when you're taking an exam, it's really important to know like all the tips and tricks that can help you go through the whole experience. And this Jonathan is training so many people and getting a lot of feedback. He's always up to date with the latest tricks how to pass TOEFL. And today our webinar is going to be about just two parts of TOEFL, which is speaking and writing. And basically they are different from reading and listening because on these parts, when you're getting ready for the exam, you need feedback because you can download a lot of prep tests on the internet and you can do the reading part, you can do the listening part, and the computer would tell you whether you're right or wrong. But if you're doing a speaking part, nobody except for a person who knows how to pass TOEFL can tell you your mistakes or whether you're doing well or not. And also writing, somebody needs to correct your mistakes. So we're going to talk about these parts today, and while we already have 170 people, and I see like the number growing, which is cool. I just wanted to ask you guys if you can hear everything, like if everything is okay, and also if you could tell us where you're from, because so I am streaming from California, Jonathan is streaming from Mexico. It's going to be interesting to see our geography today. So if you could write where you're from, like your country or your city, that would be amazing. So yeah, I'm waiting for your comments. Everybody's saying hi, saying that they like Jonathan's beard. Okay. It's midnight already in Indonesia. Oh wow, we have people from Indonesia. Cool. Hungary, Dubai, Georgia, Brazil, Sao Paulo, Germany, Russia, Italy, Colombia. Wow, I think the whole world is watching the webinar. Oh, Texas. Hi, Texas. St. Petersburg, but in Miami now. India, Belarus, Jordan, Budapest. Wow, this is such a cool geography. Wow. Yeah, Jakarta, India, Turkey, Indonesia, Peru, Mexico, Russia, Poland, Arizona, Chile, Indonesia, India, Mexico, Iran, Algeria. I feel like I'm this, competition, and I'm like naming countries. Mumbai, cool, Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, I think we have the whole world today, which is pretty cool. Like this is what unites like everybody's learning English, everybody's passing TOEFL. Wow. So a lot of India, a lot of Mexico, definitely. And yeah, Russia, Palestine, USA, a lot of USA. Cool, guys. Wow, that's amazing. Like seriously, thank you so much for attending. We have more than 200 people now. And I think we're going to start, right? So this is going to be like interactive lesson, and this is something you would experience if you're taking classes with Jonathan, but when you're taking them one-on-one, it could be more personalized. But yeah, it's going to be tricks and tips, and I'm going to share what I went through during my TOEFL exam. So I'm going to start.
Cool. Yeah, so this will be kind of like a lesson number one You could think of it kind of like that if you were scheduling a lesson with me and kind of going through, because like Marina said, you can do the reading and listening sections independently, and you can get your feedback through those kind of practice tests and the exercises, and get an idea of what you would probably be scoring probably on the day of the test. But oftentimes when you're doing the speaking and the writing, you don't quite get like that assurance of, well, how well am I actually doing. So having these kind of feedback from a native speaker, even from other people who have taken the test, because Marina has a lot of great advice as well from her experience, and a lot of videos that she has on her channel as well. So it's like a combination. Get as much information as you can from people who have taken the test, their experience, teachers, native speakers, and just get as much information as you can before you take the test, and take as many practice tests as you can, so that you can feel more comfortable with your preparations. So we're going to get into the presentation. I'm going to share my screen now and make sure that you can see the presentation. So can you just let me know you can see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay,
perfect.
and you can see it moving between the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here to talk about the speaking and writing section. So hi from me and hi from Marina. So as Marina said, I'm a native speaker. I'm from the United States. I'm from California. I've been teaching English and other foreign languages since about 1999. So it's been about 17 years. And I've been teaching English. I was in France for 6 years. I've now been in Mexico for 8 years. And I've been teaching online primarily for probably about almost a year now. And there's been a lot of TOEFL prep students along the way. So let's get into this. So today we're going to be looking at the speaking and writing sections, and we're going to go kind of type question by question and some strategies and what to expect. So a lot of this material, these examples that we're going to be looking at, are directly from the ETS and some of the practice guides that they have. So you'll see the wording the way it would be on the day of the test, because there's a lot of material out there. I mean, there's a lot of great books and a lot of great websites, but it's generally a good idea to be as familiar as you can with the authentic kind of questions, the way they will be the day of the test. So let's get in here. So how is the speaking section organized? So for those of you who haven't taken the test yet, or who may not be familiar with the way it's organized, you've got 6 speaking tasks. 2 of them are independent, which means you just have the question and you start speaking. You have a few seconds to prepare. And 4 of these, type 3 through 6, are integrated, which means that you have a combination of some reading material, listening to a conversation or a lecture, and then you speak and talk about what you read and what you listened to. And the last 2 material, you just have a listening to a conversation or listening to a lecture and then speaking about that. So for these the independent ones, the type 1, type 2, you're talking about something familiar. So your personal experiences, your things about people you know, famous people, events, objects, places, things that you feel comfortable talking about in general. Type 2, you have to make some kind of a choice between maybe 2 things. Like some people prefer this, some people prefer that. Which one do you prefer and why? And I mean, although it is a familiar topic, oftentimes these 2, type 1, type 2, end up being some of the more kind of challenging questions for students, because they may not be good at brainstorming or just suddenly answering a question, what's your favorite music, or which do you prefer, going to restaurants or staying at home and eating? So if you're not really comfortable with brainstorming, that's a skill you kind of want to practice this before the test starts. And for the type 3, 4, 5, 6, those ones, you're going to want to like get good at your reading skills and with your listening skills, because and taking notes on those sections, because you're going to have to be able to repeat the information that you've heard, but you need to focus on the main points. You don't want to have the kind of minor incidental information in there. You want to get to what is it that they're talking about, either for like the campus situation, for type 3, type 5, what is it that they're talking about, what is the problem, or what is the topic, what's their opinion, and for the type 4, type 6, with the lecture and the reading, you need to be able to summarize the main points and to be good at paraphrasing and citing the sources. So let's take a look at some examples here. So these are examples from the ETS. So one example here could be, okay, talk about a pleasant and memorable event that happened while you were in school. Explain why this event brings back fond memories. You have 15 seconds to think of this, 45 seconds to speak. And another example here, choose a place you go to often that is important to you. Explain why it is important. Please include specific details in your explanation. So what they're looking for here is kind of, you have to pick something and you have to give some reasons why you're going to talk about that. So some like in the type 2 with this personal choice, let's say some people think it's more fun to spend time with friends in restaurants or cafes. Others think it is more fun to spend time with friends at home. Which do you think is better? Explain why. So really important to answer that question, which one you have to choose between these two. And another example here, some college students choose to take courses in a variety of subject areas in order to get a broad education. Others choose to focus on a single subject area in order to have a deeper understanding of that area. Which approach to course selection do you think is better for students, and why? So you have to make a choice here, take one of two sides, and then really give your answers, the details, which one you would prefer. So some strategies. Yeah, let's jump in. Yeah.
I just wanted to add that like these two first questions for me, they were the most difficult ones, because in other questions, like Jonathan said, you just follow a structure. They give you like a text that you read, they give you something to listen to, and here you just get a question. So you basically have to come up with the answer and with the reasons. And what helped me, like where in the question where you have to choose first or second, don't waste your time on really thinking which choice is better, because they would normally ask, like, do you prefer to eat in a restaurant or like at home, for example. Just set something for yourself that you're going to pick the first option. And then it's really important when you're picking something and when you're answering the question to have two reasons why you think it's better. And the reasons can be, you don't have to make something exquisite up. Just, say something that you think, something that comes to your mind first. And it's really important that your answer is grammatically structured. So you can start with, I have this video on YouTube where I share some of the templates that I've used. So you have to start with all the introductory words, like, to my mind, eating in a restaurant is better. And here are a couple of reasons why. First, so when you have the structure, like, first you have this introductory words to introduce your opinion, then you have this introductory words to introduce your reasons. And first, because, I don't know, it's faster. Second, because you don't have to wash up. And then you have to conclude, again, with the template. This is why I think eating in a restaurant is better. So when you have these templates in your head, you can write down what I just said, and Jonathan is going to say some things again. But when you have these templates in your head, it really gives you more time to think of the reasons, because this is basically the hardest part, that you have 15 seconds to think of the reasons. And when you have something in mind, you just have like extra brain activity still thinking of what you're going to say. And if it's, they don't care if the reason is, were really well thought, just any reasons, but grammatically structured. Yeah, I think that's my comment on the first two questions.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, so just like we were saying here, there's no wrong or right choice. When you just have to kind of pick the first idea that kind of comes to mind. And I would generally say, like, if you can brainstorm maybe 3 or 4 supporting reasons, and then you can kind of select the best two. What I've seen from my own brainstorming and from other students is if you just stick to brainstorming one or two ideas, they tend to kind of merge together and you end up with kind of one idea. So if you want to have like this second supporting idea, you kind of end up you end up kind of improvising while speaking. And if you kind of force yourself to just keep generating ideas in those first 15 seconds, you can then kind of have a couple to choose from. If one is not a strong idea, you can kind of pick the best ones.
Or you forget what you thought about. That also happens, especially when
Yeah.
you don't write them down, they just fly away.
Yeah. So kind of taking the notes, like very brief notes as well on paper. Take advantage of the paper to do that. And one thing that I discovered with one of the students where we were getting a little frustrated of, I wish I had a take two. I wish I could like a do-over with the speaking. And we were thinking like, well, are you being recorded during the brainstorming section? And we're like, well, no, actually you're not being recorded during that brainstorming. So what's to stop you from speaking during the brainstorming? So you could actually practice rehearsing your topic sentence before you're actually recorded. And I hear a lot of students who I say, okay, start speaking. And then there's about 5 seconds of, okay, so, and that's like 5 seconds that is kind of lost. So I generally advise students to kind of, if you remember the Olympics from a couple months ago, and you had the swimmers or the runners, those people are waiting like for that gunshot or for that noise to just happen so they can instantly jump off into the water or jump off the starting block and get started. Where with a lot of students for this TOEFL speaking, there's a lot of reticence where they're a bit timid, a bit nervous, and they don't know how to get like started. And I think the most important thing is just get started, get that first sentence going, and you want to start like speaking with confidence. And then once you have that confidence and you're setting a pace for your speaking, the rest will kind of develop. But if that start is kind of shaky, there's a chance that the rest of your answer kind of might erode. So you want to start strong and build stronger with that. So I would recommend kind of rehearsing that topic sentence if you have a few seconds before the recording starts. Stay calm, stay focused, stay relaxed. It is a stressful environment. You are surrounded by other people taking the test next to you. They'll be speaking. You have the test organizers who might be walking around, checking if the computer is working or looking over people's shoulders. Don't let those people distract you. Just stay focused on your speaking task and just really try to kind of sound natural, sound like you're talking to a friend. I get a lot of recordings where I talk to a student in the lesson and we have a conversation and we sound like we connect well. And then the recording sounds like it's a completely different person. They sound kind of as if they were working on a radio station, or suddenly they were kind of an actor. And it doesn't quite sound natural. And I would recommend people to kind of just close your eyes for a second. Imagine that the computer for the test, behind it is your best friend or one of your close family members. And when you're going to be speaking to the microphone, imagine you're connecting with that person and you're just kind of telling them your ideas about this topic. And just try to sound like you're having part of a conversation. Just keep it kind of natural, keep it fluid. And if you had memorized part of a template, try to keep those phrases natural. If they sound like they're awkwardly memorized, the examiners, the people who are going to be rating your speaking sample, they're going to notice if something sounds kind of memorized or like it doesn't quite fit in your speaking. So you want to sound kind of spontaneous with that, and be careful with your pronunciation. Make sure it's clear, articulate, speak clearly into the microphone. Also use intonation patterns. There are exercises that we work on for content and function words, so that you know, like the subject, the verb, the adjective, those words that are most important in your message, those need to come out loudly and clearly, and kind of some of the function words which are less important need to kind of be kind of softer and faster. So that's one exercise that we work on for content and function words. And make sure you're expressing yourself clearly. You don't want to get a really difficult, complex, abstract idea that is difficult to talk about, and make sure your ideas are staying connected to the topic. And keep your pacing going, keep a good flow. If you make a mistake, don't stop, keep going, because the highest scores don't have to be perfect. They do have some tolerance on pronunciation or a brief pause, but they don't have to be perfect. So if you make a mistake, don't give up. Keep going, and try to avoid some redundancy or repeating yourself just to fill up time. So in your vocabulary, if you keep it kind of simple and the grammatical structure is kind of conversational and simple to understand, that's going to be some good ways to improve there. What else would you add here, Marina?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, about being nervous, actually, this is a very important thing. Like, you have to understand that people who are checking TOEFL speaking are really nice people. Like, because there are so many, I've talked to a couple of students who went through TOEFL experience, and they say, I made so many mistakes and I thought I failed the speaking part, and I was in the same situation because again, I had like 45 seconds to talk, and I only talked for 30 seconds, and I had 15 seconds when I just went silent, and then I decided to say something and I just said, and that was it. This is how I finished the answer. And I thought, wow, they're not going to give me the highest score because, yeah, I was nervous because this was the first task, and during all the other tasks, I was thinking, oh, I failed in the first task, I'm not getting this high score. But really, those people understand that this is speaking, this is stressful, and what they really want to see is that you can structure your thoughts, you can tell people what you think, and they don't really care whether you were too fast or too slow. If you comprehend, if you use all the connection words and you don't have a lot of mistakes, you should be fine. So despite of that mistake, despite of going silent at the end of the task, I still got 30 out of 30 with it, which is perfect. So I can say that those guys who are taking TOEFL, they understand that it is kind of stressful to talk to a computer, and you don't have to be super perfect because you only had 15 seconds to prepare. And also, if you think about, oh, I just made a mistake, then you have less brain material to think about answering the question. You're still thinking about how you kind of failed, but you haven't actually failed. So just imagine that you're talking to a friend. I think that's a great advice. And yeah, my favorite tip for the speaking part for the first two questions, make sure that you go into the class early because other people will start the speaking part. I don't know whether a lot of people are using the strategy, but if you go to the class during the break, some people would already start the speaking part, and you would hear which questions they got, and everybody gets the same questions in the classroom. So when I went into the classroom, I saw other people talking about music, and I kind of realized what was the question. So I sat down and I still had 4 minutes left for my break, and I wrote down the answer. And then I heard my neighbor answering the second question, so I wrote the answer to the second question as well, and my stress went away completely because I knew what the questions would be. So this is also very useful. And guys, also, I wanted to tell you that if you want to take classes with Jonathan, which I highly advise, at least one class, because if you don't have like budget for preparation, I think at least one class to get feedback, because I also took classes because I needed feedback on my speaking part and my writing part. And if you're super perfect, it just gives you assurance that you're super perfect. So we're giving a discount today till midnight your time. and it's 50% discount on all of the packages that you can take with Jonathan, and the link is below the video. So if you go there, you will still have some time to book the classes with a discount, and that's the first time we're giving something like that, so don't miss it. Yeah, thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, perfect. And so let's keep moving along, and just to, I know a lot of you want to see the writing section as well, so that's coming up shortly. Let me just get through these integrated type questions and examples and some of those strategies, but I'll try to keep this moving a little bit faster so we can get to the writing section as well. So let's move on here. Okay, so the type 3 is the campus situation. So you have a reading passage about some announcement, or the university is planning to do something. Then you have a conversation where the two students, a man and a woman, will talk about this decision or this announcement. They'll express an opinion, and then your job here is to kind of restate what that opinion is and explain the reasons why they give for that opinion. And it's very similar. It's just either the man or the woman, and there's some kind of decision. So you really need to you're not expressing your own opinion, you're just restating what they talked about. So some strategies here, similar to kind of type 1, make sure you're taking some notes while you are listening to the conversation. And you want to kind of use a template, so you can see like the man says this, the woman says this, and just kind of briefly be able to identify, do they agree with this, do they disagree with this, and then start noticing what are the reasons for agreeing or disagreeing. And then when you are preparing for the speaking, you don't have time to write anything new. It's really just kind of circling or underlining or crossing something out, so you can kind of keep your eye where you need to focus on your notes. And then, like as I mentioned before, practice giving that topic sentence of what they're talking about from the reading passage, and summarizing what the opinions are. And again, kind of take a deep breath, be confident, start confidently, start strong, and just describe what the reading passage is very briefly, but stay more focused on what is in the conversation itself and what their opinion is and why they have that the opinion. So, okay, I think this situation, for a lot of students, it's not that difficult because I think they're used to conversational English in general. Some things to worry about is kind of practicing some of the phrases for reporting, citing, paraphrasing, to like the man said this or the male student said this, and try to find some variety in your vocabulary so you're not always saying the same exact phrases. That kind of variety will help improve your score a little bit. Just make sure that what you do say that is accurate, that you're getting the main ideas. Don't get distracted by too many like small, tiny details that are in there. Just stick to the main points here. Okay. Any things that you would add?
Yeah, I think this is one of the coolest questions because it actually asks you about what you all have encountered. And I think when you're getting ready for speaking practice, it's also very important to watch a lot of films about American life, because they're actually asking about those aspects. And if you watch a lot of movies about students, about campus life, you will get all of the vocabulary, because otherwise just studying that doesn't make it fun. And I think that studying for anything should be fun, because you're not studying to answer the tests, you're studying for, to be able to speak a language, to be able to integrate in the environment. So make something fun of your preparation process if you have a lot of time, a lot, I mean more than 3 weeks. So if you have like a couple of hours every day, make sure that you, for example, watch a YouTube blogger who is studying in the States right now, or you watch some movie like a comedy about campus life in the States, because all of the vocabulary, all of the questions, you're going to see them in the actual test, and it really helps. And it also really helps you distract, because when you're just, studying for TOEFL using books, it makes it boring sometimes, but if you're just watching something, also makes it easier. So this would be my advice for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what else would I say? I think, yeah, like you said, of getting materials for like, sometimes you could look at websites that are for like student associations at universities, kind of see what are some of the topics that are going on campus and see if people express an opinion. A lot of students right now are like really active in social media, so you can maybe find things online in those platforms to see if students are talking about certain things that are going on, and just see how they express themselves, and see if you can kind of be able to paraphrase that, express it in your own words as well. So, okay. Let's move on now for the type 4, which would be an academic lecture. So this would be a reading passage, just a short description of like a concept or something. And then the lecture, the professor will illustrate this or expand on that, give an example. And so then it's your job to kind of explain what that concept is. Don't forget to do that. I've heard examples where they get straight into what the lecture examples are, but they don't really explain what the concept is. So make sure you have what that concept is, what the idea is, or its definition early on, because they're asking you to explain it. And then they want you to give the examples that the professor talks about. So in there, again, taking notes while you're listening, and you want to spend more time a little bit on the explanation, the examples, the reasons. You need to give that concept, that definition briefly, but and again, you're not expressing your opinion on this at all. You're just repeating information you heard mostly from the lecture. You don't want to repeat everything because there is some incidental minor details. You want the most important points that are being expressed on there. Okay. And again, use a variety of phrases for the reporting, the citing, the paraphrasing. There's a lot of good resources that are out there so you can practice with your English skills. And another good way to do this is maybe read an article and summarize it in your own words. Maybe look at something on a TED Talk, watch a presentation, and try to express some of the main ideas in there in your own words, and try to cite or quote the speaker, and try to quote the reading materials that you've used, and try to put the two sources together to compare and contrast with that. Okay. I do have some students who struggle with this one with the lecture, so they do need to work on their note-taking skills. So that's really important. You don't want to write down everything. You won't be able to write everything. You need to be able to summarize these main ideas as you're taking notes. And again, using a template is helpful so you can see what the main idea is, a concept, and maybe the two examples or a definition, and maybe a contrasting how one might be a general and a specific usage, or two separate ways to interpret an idea. So there are generally two things that are being expressed in this. What would you add here, Marina?
Yeah, I would add that this question can be on several topics, like it can be biology, psychology. The concept can come from anywhere that can be studied in a university. And again, like to make your preparation a fun process, to make it easier for you to study, I recommend watching YouTube videos on several different topics. Like I had this difficulty when I started preparing for TOEFL. I saw a lot of questions about ancient art, and I'm not really into ancient art. So I just opened like BBC series on ancient caves in France, or like paintings in caves, and I just watched it. And BBC, they try to make it fun as well. And I listened to those words that they use. I got familiar with the concept itself, because sometimes schools are different all over the world. And for example, in the States, they might have astronomy, but in your country, they wouldn't teach you astronomy, and you're not familiar with the concept at all. So just make sure you're familiar with the concepts they use in TOEFL. It's astronomy, art, like ancient art as well, physics, biology, just the basic concepts. Because what you need here is not like understand every single field of some particular science. You need to be able to understand what is told, and to be able to kind of relate to something that you know as well, understand some words. So make sure, again, to spend some time watching videos on different topics. And that's why I say, like, if your English is perfect, then it would take you like 2 to 3 weeks to get ready for TOEFL, because TOEFL only tests your ability to speak English, but also 2 to 3 weeks, that would be enough to get familiar with the structure and like to reduce the nervousness. But if you have more time, really make sure that you watch all of those videos and make it a fun process. Again, if you don't want to spend so much time preparing for TOEFL, I also told myself that, hey, these are concepts that are familiar to a lot of people in the world, and this is new information, this is interesting. So also use that time to grow as a personality, I would say so.
Cool. Yeah, I think definitely getting familiar with a variety of topics, that's a really good way to prepare. I mean, they tell you you don't have to know those topics in advance, but it is a good way to kind of give yourself a little bit of a more confidence of like, oh, this topic is a little bit more familiar, as opposed to like,
yeah,
oh,
I've heard something like a week ago. Yeah,
the science topic, I hate science, so I'm afraid of all these concepts. Well, that kind of attitude will probably just make you kind of panic if you get a science topic. So kind of go discover a few things on magazines and also websites and some YouTube channels. Just hear them talking about this, some kind of introductory courses, and there's also MOOCs, like these massive open online courses where you can get an introduction to a topic. You don't have to pay for those usually, for these free ones, but it just gives you a way to kind of, what are some of these main concepts? So you're not kind of walking into this type 4 and type 6 blind. Just have a little bit there to help you. Okay, I know a lot of people want to see the writing section, so let's move on to the type 5, type 6. Okay, so here there's a campus problem. There's usually something like, oh, I need to turn in this research paper, but I don't know, something happened, and then they say, well, what about if you talk to the professor, or what about if you ask for an extension, or something like that? And then they'll, the man and the male student, the female student, they'll probably say like, oh, well, this reason you could do this, and they might disagree and might not like that idea. So that's why they're going to have this problem, and they're going to give you 2 solutions. And this one is really important that you do express your opinion. I have too many students who will give me the whole summary of what the problem is, all of the details in the dialogue of the man said this, but then he didn't like that, he disagreed, and she agreed, and they spend like 50 seconds telling me the whole summary of the conversation, and then the last 10 seconds they realize, oh my gosh, I didn't express my opinion, I didn't give my suggestion or my recommendation. So I would say it's really, this type 5 is almost like a type 2 question in terms of you have to choose between 2 solutions, and you want to spend as brief amount of time on what the problem is, like say what the problem is, but don't really go into the detail. Then what are the 2 solutions? Just briefly say what those solutions are, and spend at least a good 40 seconds talking about what you prefer and why what you think is a good solution or which one is better. Spend a lot of that time focused on that section. You want 40 seconds of your opinion. Whereas if it's like only 20 seconds, 10 seconds of your opinion, you're not giving a fully developed answer. So it's really important that you keep that summary of the problem and the 2 possible solutions as brief as possible, and spend a lot more of your time with your own opinion and which one you would say is the better solution. So you want to work on like vocabulary words for comparing, contrasting, expressing like best and better, and explaining the reason why something is important, or why it's a good solution, or why it's a good idea. So that's really important for this type 5. And again, kind of citing, paraphrasing, reporting what the people have said, and have a variety of phrases, and really using these transition words and connecting words to really develop your answer there. And okay, let's move on to the type 6 so we can get to the speaking, the writing section, sorry. So the academic lecture, again, kind of related to the type 4, where you don't have any reading material, you just have the lecture itself. So the professor is going to be giving like a concept and 2 definitions, and so you need to be able to express what that concept is and give what these definitions are. It's very similar to the type 4, and I would say the strategies are very similar to like define what the concept is, say what it is, and then the examples, the reasons that the professor gives on there. Okay, so and the strategies that you use for type 4 are very similar to the type 6. Okay, so let's now get into the writing section, because I think a lot of people, they want to hear that advice. So, okay, so the writing section here. So you got two things. You got an integrated essay and you have an independent essay. So integrated means you have a little bit of a reading and a lecture. So kind of like if it were on the speaking section, kind of like type 4 where you had to do reading and lecture. And then you're summarizing points, except in this case for the integrated essay, the lecture will contradict what is in the reading passage. So for your notes, you want to be able to highlight what the main differences are, like what the main details are in that reading passage, to identify like what are the reasons that support this or disagree with this. And then in the lecture, there would be 3 points that are related to the reading passage. In your note taking, you want to be able to identify what those 3 points are, because when you're developing your writing, you're gonna want to take like the body section of your paragraphs to kind of take it point by point and say, okay, the reading passage said this, and they said this for these reasons. However, in the lecture, the professor refutes this point, and he says for this reason. And you want to link that information kind of point by point of like the reason for the reading passage, the counter argument in the lecture, the reason why the professor disagrees or why that point is not valid, and give that supporting information. And then move on your next body paragraph, number 2, repeat the same structure kind of as a template. Take the second point from the reading passage, refute this, support it, and then refute it from the lecture, and then repeat again for your third paragraph, the third body paragraph for the third point. Do the same thing again, present the idea from the reading passage, the reasons why it was supported by the author, and then the reasons why the professor disagrees with that statement and the reasons why. And then finally, you don't really need a conclusion here, because you only have 20 minutes and you're just covering these points. And if you get those 3 points and you can express them clearly and simply and try to avoid being redundant, you're going to have a good essay. You don't really need a conclusion. That's not really necessary. The introduction, though, you could include kind of a brief summary of what those little points are. And I think that's a good way to cover the essay. And even though it is 20 minutes, try to aim for finishing your text around like 17 minutes. So you can give yourself about 3 minutes to kind of go over your essay and identify if you had any grammar mistakes, like subject-verb agreement. I see a lot of problems with that. Sentence structures, like there might be a run-on sentence, there might be, what could be something else here, like the ideas are not very clearly related from one to the other. So like your transition words, making sure that things develop clearly. Yeah, just give yourself a few minutes to check your writing, because there might be some silly mistakes you might not catch as you're writing, because you're so focused on writing and wanting to finish it that you might not see some of those things. So you don't want to just type completely up until the last second and then hit submit. You want to be able to kind of check your writing. What would you add for the integrated strategies?
Yeah, I would say having a template again is a good thing to do. Like if you aim, for example, for 5 paragraphs, like in the first paragraph you describe what happens in the text, then the second, third, and fourth paragraph you give your reasons, and the 5th paragraph you use to conclude. And this is also good, like the strategy is good for any test, because I use the same strategy for GMAT. They also have an essay. So basically, I wrote down the words for each paragraph that I want to start with, like, in my opinion, the professor said, the first reason is that. And when you have the structure, also you will have draft paper that you can use during the exam. So what I did before the writing part, I sat down and actually wrote down that template. It took me like 2 minutes because it was in my head. So I wrote it down just to have it before my eyes, and then I started writing. And when you have the structure already, it's really easy to just insert words from this particular text. So just practice at home, learn the template, and it doesn't matter if you have like several sentences for every paragraph. It could be just one, so you don't have to, learn 5 different introductory phrases. Just learn one, but learn it by heart and use it all the time. So yeah, practice at home, write down those texts. Also, what helped me score, well, I scored 27 out of 30, but I guess it's really difficult to score the maximum score on this part because even native speakers score less sometimes. But what helped me as well was exceeding the word count. What was the word count for this one? Was it 250, right?
It's about 150 to about 225. So like aiming for at least 200 words is probably a good one for integrated. Yeah. If you get more, that's better. You probably want to work on your typing skills. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you should talk about things that have no relation to the text. No, they should make sense. And try to think of as many things as you can. Like make sure your ideas are developed and you're using good arguments, and make sure the text is a little more than the word count, I'd say, because they would also see that you're okay with writing more in a short period of time. And sometimes you have this dilemma, like you look at your text and you think, well, I'm using easy words, maybe I should insert something like advanced vocabulary. And then you write it down and you think, oh, did I spell it correctly? So if you're not sure of the word spelling, just don't insert it, because this would reduce your points a lot. And it's even more than like the reduction that you would get for not using super complicated words. So just make sure everything is correct. And sometimes you think the word is easy, but actually it's easy because it has a good analog in your country, but then for Americans, it's not a word that they typically use, and I find that a lot. So yeah, again, and when you prepare, make sure somebody actually checks your text, because we always make very typical mistakes and the same mistakes all over again, and it's good for somebody to point them out so you know your mistakes and you keep them in mind when you're writing the text. Basically, yeah, this is my comment for the first essay.
Yeah, I like that idea of having the template and kind of giving yourself some of that structure before you get started, and just kind of fill in the blanks, and that gives you a lot more confidence that you have a well-structured, well-organized essay, and that way you want to reduce some of these kind of stress factors. And one of them would be like, well, how do I organize myself? And one of them is like, well, okay, for this integrated one, it's fairly predictable on how this is organized. So kind of just follow a template, and you should be fine for that score. The other one, getting into the independent one, this one you have a little more flexibility. So let's look at some of these couple examples here. So I put here, so you have the independent, you're expressing your personal opinion on a familiar topic. So on here, you could have things of, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? And then there might be an opinion statement, and then saying use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. They're all going to say that, use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. But some of it might be, which do you prefer? Others it might be also, which of these situations do you think is better? Another might be, do you support or oppose this idea, this plan? So you're going to have 30 minutes for this one, and you want to write at least 300 words, even more if you can. And again, don't aim for doing this in 30 minutes. Aim for like finishing by about 27 minutes. So you can have like 2 or 3 minutes to review what you're talking about. Similar to like the type 1, type 2 questions from the speaking section, you're brainstorming. However, here it's just you have to pick one or the other side. So some strategies that you can do here is kind of, there's no really wrong or right choice, and trying to get about 3 or 4 supporting reasons why you would choose one side. You can also think of some supporting reasons for the opposite. that can be a one way to acknowledge the other side and then refute it by giving an even better reason why you support your side. So that's almost like a way that lawyers would be presenting in a courtroom, and that's one way you can develop like a very strong essay for that. Make sure that your ideas, your examples are clear, and that your supporting reasons are also very easy to follow. So you just want to stay focused on the topic. Make sure you're answering that topic. Don't get off into some really abstract concepts. Make sure that the people who are reading your essay can follow it very easily. It looks logical. It looks developed. And if you have any ideas that seem kind of getting you off topic or going somewhere else, kind of delete this and cut it. You want to trim it. You don't want to just pad your essay with meaningless sentences, because some students might memorize a sentence just to throw it in there because it sounds good. If it doesn't support your essay clearly, it's not going to be helpful. So some of those things, they can spot it if a sentence just looks out of place. Don't like really just throw it in there because it sounds like a good idea. Just make sure that your ideas kind of flow and that they develop in a logical way that you can support your ideas. And I guess these simple, direct kind of vocabulary grammar structures, it's a good idea. Make sure that they're consistent. So if you choose one structure, and you use that again, make sure you don't have some kind of a, well, this way I said it one way this way, and then this time it was slightly different. You want to make sure that you're using it consistently. Or the spelling, make sure the spelling is consistent. If you choose like American English, which is primarily for the TOEFL, make sure you're using American English and grammatical structures throughout your document. If you have a mix of things, it's going to be kind of awkward for that. And yeah, definitely spend some time to review your text so you can eliminate some of these mistakes. What else would you add, Marina?
Yeah, so make sure your timing is okay, so you have some time to check. But also, like, if you should train checking yourself as well. That's why I said you should mark in your head like which mistakes you normally make, to make sure to look for them. Because I think I checked my essays like 3 times because I had plenty of time when I finished, but I still got 27 out of 30, and you can never know whether these were grammar mistakes or maybe like spelling mistakes, or maybe they just didn't like your ideas. Because sometimes you can go online and Google like TOEFL essay samples, and sometimes you can see samples that scored 30, and they kind of the TOEFL test makers explain that for every question they have, for people who would check your essay, they have like bullet points of what a person should talk about. But we all think in very different ways. So maybe they were expecting you to talk about this aspect, but you talked about a completely different aspect. And that can also affect points. But this is really like, you cannot do anything about that. So don't worry about your thoughts. Worry more about your grammar, spelling mistakes, and the mistakes that you typically make. So yeah, I also wanted to add that we have like 5 minutes before Jonathan finishes for questions. And I see, like, I'm reading this chat here that we have on YouTube, and it's like people are writing all the time. So this is like,
yeah, it's very active.
Yeah, and they're writing, yeah, like, see, it's like crazy. And they're, people are texting each other in Russian, in Spanish, in Portuguese, in English. So it's really cool. And I like that we have this TOEFL takers community here. And I let Jonathan finish, and we will answer some of your questions in the chat. So please make sure you're writing the questions now.
Yeah, and just some really final last little things. Just make sure you're speaking and writing on a daily basis. It's like, obviously, if you just wait until the day of the exam, you're not going to feel like as comfortable. So make this like, even if you're doing, I have 1 week left before the test, or about a month before the test, just make it a daily activity to practice your speaking, practice your writing. Make sure for the speaking, record yourself, because there are a lot of websites out there. One of my favorite is SpeakPipe, just the way it sounds, SPEAKPIPE, and they have a voice recorder on there, and you don't have to install anything. You can record yourself There's another one that's called online-voice-recorder. That one is another one you can use. You don't have to install anything. You just record yourself. And there's a lot of other apps out there that you can download and install on your computer that might be a little more complicated to use. But if you can use something simple to record yourself, you can hear some of the typical mistakes that you make. You can also record yourself with a webcam, and then you can see like your body language and like, do you look confident when you're speaking? I know they're just recording your voice, but the way you look can also the way you look in your mind can also help you kind of convince yourself that, okay, I'm going to do a great job on this. I sound confident. I feel comfortable. So, so you want to kind of check yourself with recording or webcam recording as well. There's some really great communities out there like Italki or Lang 8 where you can submit samples. Like on Italki, the notebook entries, you can do 2 of these per day. And I think it's like up to 2,500 characters per text. So that's about like 400, 500 words for an essay. So I do recommend a lot of my students to submit some of their like type 1, type 2, these integrated independent essays on there. And they can also get some feedback from other native speakers and just see some things that, that they may not catch on their own. Really kind of review what your mistakes are. Don't just be aware that they exist, but kind of do something about them. Try to find some grammar books. There's a lot of resources out there. There's even a lot of websites for online writing labs. A lot of universities have these. One of my favorite is from Purdue. It's the OWL Online, I think. You can do a Google search for OWL and Purdue in the online writing lab, and they have a lot of great advice for how to improve like college essay writing. Also learn to take notes. Note taking is very important for all of these sections on the TOEFL. You're gonna have to take notes for reading sections, take notes for listening sections, and the better you get at taking notes, the easier it will be for those kind of reading passages and conversations and lectures. And really get good at how do you summarize, paraphrase, quote, cite sources. And a good way to do that is kind of do a lot of reading, taking articles on the internet, kind of expressing the main ideas in your own words and things. So that's basically like some of these extra tips I would add on here. But and finally, just if you've answered a question, answer it again. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get better at it. You're not going to get worse at it. So that's going to help your confidence and help you tackle these things. You don't know what's going to be on the exam itself. So if you cover a wide range of questions, you're going to get a lot more practice on there. So, okay, well, thank you for watching to attending. Let's get back to some of your questions here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Jonathan. This was a really useful lecture. So yeah, some of your questions. So before we go to questions, please feel free to post more. I wanted to ask somebody if we have a Chinese speaker here who is in America maybe or somewhere else, but who's from China. Please reach out to me to marina@linguatrip.com because I want to start a Yoku channel because I see a lot of Chinese people copying my videos and I really need help with that. So I hope somebody from China is watching me because I've seen some Chinese names here in the chat. And if you would like to help me, that would be super awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm going to the questions now. So people are asking what is the most difficult part in TOEFL, and I would say really it depends on you, but I guess every, for any nationality speaking would be the most difficult part because you can do anything at home. You can do reading, you can do listening, you can practice writing, but practicing speaking is something you cannot do in your own country. You either jump on a Skype with Jonathan or you go to an English-speaking country and practice it, and this is basically what LinguaTrip does. We send students abroad to learn languages. Like I'm here in California and in San Francisco, and I have a school just next to my building, which is kind of the most popular school for students. And you should know that if you have an ability to come to the States or to the UK, you can start any Monday with any level. Just go on LinguaTrip and check out what you can do. And it's basically cheaper than booking a hotel, for example, in San Francisco, especially in big cities, because you will get the same price for the course and accommodation. And you would also get ready for TOEFL, like we have TOEFL preparation classes. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. You can request a call back so we can connect with you. So yeah, I'd say speaking, and that's because you kind of really practice it at home. So yeah, or you just you know, Skype with a native speaker for an hour a day. Good work, thank you. Can we get a PPT? Oh, I'm actually going to post this video on YouTube, and I think the quality would be better once it's finalized on YouTube, and you should be able to read what's in the presentation. Also, Jonathan is also talking about all of the things. Yeah. Which type of topics should we prepare? Again, like TOEFL asks you about all of the aspects you can think of: campus life, biology, physics, art. So just make sure you're, you know, you're watching different videos on YouTube. You are not like TOEFL preparation videos, watch them, but also watch BBC videos on art or something. So all of the topics are really important. What to do the day before the test? Relax. Like, day before the test, make sure your brain is like is getting ready for what's going to happen tomorrow. Make sure you take a bar of chocolate with you. Make sure you have a bottle of water. If you're traveling to a place you've never been before, make sure you know how to go to the testing center, because TOEFL starts at a particular time, and if you're late, they might reduce the time of your TOEFL test. So maybe like take a trip to the testing center, make sure you know how to get there, and plan the day ahead. And yeah, no more like maybe practice English, but like just, you know, talk to people, not like doing more speaking parts. And actually, we have this. I'm gonna send you a link. It's gonna be below the video. We have this service now where you can press a button and instantly connect to a person who also wants to speak English at the same time, and it costs just $1 a day. And you don't see the person you're talking to, so there is no need to be ashamed of your accent or something. If you don't like what you're talking about, you just hang up and, you know, move on to the next person. And this is a cool thing to use before the exam, because you're in your home country and you're talking your own language, you're talking in your native language, and it's good to have this, you know, before singers go on stage, they sing for a little while to just exercise and train before the actual performance. So you should do the same. You should speak English before the test. And people also tell me that it's helpful that before the speaking part, during your break, you just go out in the corridor and speak English to yourself. Don't worry, like everybody's going to be doing that. You won't seem weird. Yeah. I have to take both TOEFL and GRE. Which one should I take first? Really good question. Start with the hardest exam, which is GRE. So if you have GMAT and TOEFL, SAT and TOEFL, start with the hardest one, because GRE, GMAT, and SAT tests are taken by Native Americans. Can I say that? Okay, Americans. They're taken by the Americans, and they still need preparation. So if you're a foreigner, you need to double that preparation time. And after, like for me, after GMAT, TOEFL was like a kindergarten test, because in GMAT you have this super difficult vocabulary, very difficult analytical tests, and when I opened the TOEFL test, I was looking for, you know, something hidden. I just couldn't understand that the task is so easy, and I was thinking maybe they had something in the back of their mind when they made this question. So yeah, TOEFL will be super easy after GMAT and GRE. So start with
yeah, I could just comment on that. Yeah, I've seen one or two students who have prepared for the GRE, and then they show me some of their writing samples, and I'm just blown away to say, like, wow, the way they prepared the essay, it is extremely well written. It's very clear. The grammar is excellent. And I'm like, have you been preparing for the TOEFL before? And they're like, no, I'm preparing for the GRE. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, it's definitely paying off. You get double the exposure here of like how you can apply those skills. So I would say, yeah, training for something harder and then doing something easier in this case. I know TOEFL can be very stressful for a lot of people, but if you raise the bar a little bit higher and then come back down, TOEFL will seem a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's true. So start with the hardest test. Also, another good question is about what's a good score on TOEFL. It really depends on the university. So if you're going to do a master's degree, the minimum would be 80. I haven't seen So 80. I haven't seen universities accepting less than that for master's degree. For a bachelor's degree, that would be something around, sometimes they accept 65, 75, but I would aim for more. And it really depends on the type of university. For example, Stanford, Harvard, I think is the toughest one. It's 106, 109 minimum, so something crazy. I haven't seen a university requesting something about 110. So if you score 109, you will be safe on all of the universities, including Harvard. But if it's like somewhere from top 50 universities, like number 50, number 60 in rankings, that will be around 80 to 90 on TOEFL. Yeah, again, before I read the next question, just wanted to remind you that the link for Jonathan's Skype lessons is below, and we give 15% discount till midnight, and then it's back to normal pricing. So if you want to just take the first class and maybe book a package and see where you are right now in your TOEFL prep, that should be really useful. Again, if we have any Chinese people, people from China, please reach out to me at marina@linguatrip.com. I really need your help because Yoko all in Chinese is so difficult. Jerry is not for bachelor yet. SAT is for bachelor. How can I get competitive score in speaking section? I always get 22 and 23. I think like for all of those personalized questions, it would be better to talk to Jonathan, because what we would do is Jonathan is going to give you questions for the speaking part. You're going to record your answers, send them to Jonathan, and then you're going to connect and he's going to give you feedback. And he's going to be able to tell you exactly what you should need to do, because you're asking this question. I haven't heard you talking, so I think getting a personalized advice here is better than taking TOEFL all over again, like paying those $200 every time and just getting the same score. This doesn't really make sense. You can spend like $42 without discount on one class with Jonathan with 15% discount. It's like around 35. So yeah, I think that would be better than wasting time and money on another TOEFL exam. Are SAT and TOEFL any similar? There's a reading section that is kind of similar, but SAT is a little more about analytics. TOEFL is more about whether you understand what is said or not, and SAT requires you to dig into the text and to dig into specifics. Biggest difference, there is no speaking part in SAT. It makes it easier. Yeah, so that's the biggest difference. How can I... Thanks, Marina and Jonathan. Thank you. Discount till midnight. That's for US Standard Time or Indian Standard Time. If you click the link, it's still midnight your time. So we are taking into account where you are. And if you click the link below the video, you're going to see how many hours left till the discount disappears. Thank you. TOEFL timings, please. What do you mean by that? Is it a 4-hour exam, right? It's 4 hours, and you have a 10-minute
it's about
break.
4 hours. And as you've mentioned in other videos, there might be an extra reading passage, you might have some fluctuation on there. So they might be testing material on you to see if they'll use that continuing for another exam. So there might be a little bit of variation on there.
Surprise, surprise. I had a third listening part. I was so upset. I was so tired. I was craving for my bar of chocolate and my bottle of water. And I'm like, I'm going to go there in 5 minutes. And then, surprise, listening part number 3. I'm like, again, 20 more minutes. So yeah, be ready for that. Marina, please tell me the link to subscribe to Jonathan classes probably. I guess if you look below the video, like the first link below the video would be the link to Jonathan's class. Thank you both. Okay, great. Again, thank you so much, guys. I'm going to post this video on YouTube. It's going to be uploaded in about, I don't know, it takes like half an hour for YouTube to process the video, so you'll be able to watch it. And I'm going to leave the link to Jonathan and to this button where you can connect with other people who want to speak English. This is all going to be below the video. And yeah, thank you so much for attending. We will try to do this more often. And thank you for commenting that I should do more videos. I will do more videos. It's just I was relocating and it was all stressful with all of the baggage that I had. But now that I'm here, we're gonna do it more often, right? Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I mean, I think it's really great feedback. Thank you, everybody who's been watching, and I'm glad you found this very helpful. And yeah, leave comments, suggestions for other things you'd like us to discuss, certain aspects of the test or strategy skills that you want to work on specifically. Let us know, and we'll be happy to put that material together.
Yeah. If you have any suggestions for the next live stream, write it in the comments below. Yeah, and we'll do. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us from all over the world. I guess we had like more than 40 countries, which is great. Cool.
That's awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much, and good luck for your TOEFL preparations. And do the best you can. So
yeah,
take care.
And we'll see you soon. Bye bye.